is roster projection time, ladies and gentlemen. Now that we are about a month away from training camp and OTAs and minicamp have concluded, I think this was the perfect time to take a look at predicting the 53-man roster. Welcome into Titans Today by Chat Sports, presented by PrizePicks. Use code HMA to get $50 on lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. And now that it's kind of concluded, we saw the players practice on the field. We saw some of these players that kind of looked great and also didn't look great, and kind of breakout guys that have very shined. I thought this would be the perfect time to kind of predict who is going to make the 53-man roster once we get to roster cutdown day in late August. So go ahead, hit that thumbs up icon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's show all of the YouTube world of everybody can see who we think, or who I think, is going to make the 53-man roster. All right, let's get into it. So we got the Titans QB room, and right now they have 4 QBs on the roster: Cam Ward, Mitch Trubisky, Will Levis, and Hendon Hooker. And right now I have these three guys. But I should put an asterisk next to Will Levis's name because I'm not 100% sure that he's going to be on the roster. If he does not get traded, yes, he will be the third emergency guy. But there's a possibility that he could get traded. But your two main guys, Cam Ward and also Mitchell Trubisky. Then we go to the running back room. And this was a little bit interesting because you have your three guys, and Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, Nick Singleton. I have Khalil Mullings being that fourth guy. I have them holding 4 running backs on the roster. I think Khalil Mullings, they might have an opportunity to only take 3, but I'm going to go with 4. Nick Singleton is a guy that is going to be looked at a lot once we get to training camp because that's when he's fully healthy, and he was your 6th round pick. Then we get to the little bit interesting, the wide receiver room. And we already know kind of our 5 guys. Some people have 7 wide receivers making the roster, as in Bryce Oliver, Mason Kinsey. Nah, I got 6. I got Carnell Tate, Wan'dale Robinson, Calvin Ridley, Chimere DK, Elike Manor, but my 6th guy to make the roster is the slot receiver, Xavier Restrepo. And right now, he is on the bubble on if he's going to make this 53-man team or not. And he's entering his 2nd season with the Tennessee Titans. Last year, he didn't make the 53. But once we have gotten to OTAs and minicamp, the one guy that has shined is Xavier Restrepo, and he's working his way to make this team. Jim Wyatt, he had an article kind of recapping all of minicamp, and the one guy that has been absolutely shining has been Xavier Restrepo. Here's what he said. He said, "No one caught more passes than receiver Xavier Restrepo during the open workouts. I counted 26 catches for Restrepo over the course of 7 open practices, and the next closest guy, I think that was Wan'dale Robinson, was 5 catches behind. A year ago, I suspected some folks were afraid Ward might rely on Restrepo too much if they were both out there at the same time. But it's been obvious to me that Restrepo makes plays no matter who is at QB. And that's why I think Restrepo makes this roster. He has put in the work throughout the offseason to show that he deserves to be on a team, be on this team, not only because he was Cam Ward's favorite target in college, but because he is working well with everybody. He's worked well with Mitch Trubisky. He has worked well with Will Levis. He had that one Odell Beckham-like catch during minicamp. He is showing that he could be that 6th guy and also provide a little bit of boost to this team as your backup slot receiver next to Wan'dale Robinson, because you have all deep threats with Chimere DK. You have Elike Manor besides your 3 starters in Tate and also Calvin Ridley. You need another slot guy. And I think Restrepo is proving to be himself that he is going to be that guy. I'll ask you, though, will Xavier Restrepo make this 53-man roster? I believe so. I think he has shown out and he has proven to everybody that he deserves to be on the 53. So you let me know down in the comments section. Let me know. Will he make the roster? Give me a Y for yes, or give me an N for no. Before we keep going with this 53-man roster projection, I got to tell you about our sponsor of today's show, and that is SeatGeek, because this show is made possible by SeatGeek. When it's time to get out of the house, there's not many better options right now than a baseball game. And you can use code CHAT10 to get 10% off your next set of tickets. And with SeatGeek being MLB's official ticket marketplace, your tickets are fully guaranteed and instantly fulfilled in your account after purchase. But I know in Nashville, there's no MLB team just yet. Maybe there'll be an MLB team in the future. So you can plan out right now if you want to go and get your Titans tickets. Look, if you want to go get to a game on the last season of the old Nissan Stadium, SeatGeek is where you want to find your tickets. And whether it's a football game, a baseball game, or for a concert, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know exactly that you're getting a good deal. So look for the green dots. You know that green means good. Well, red means bad, and it's the kind of determines where your seat will be. And of course, you know I got a code for you guys. You guys can use code CHAT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code CHAT10. So you got to make sure you click the link that's in the comments and description of today's video so you can download the app and have that code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Appreciate SeatGeek for being our sponsor of today's show. So going into the tight end room, and there's not many surprises going with here. You obviously lost Chigakonkwo in free agency, but I got Gunnar Helm, Daniel Bellinger as your number 2, your blocking guy. And also, David Martin-Robinson last year kind of proved himself to be one of the main special teams guys, and I think they're going to keep him on this roster to be the 3rd tight end on the team. Now we get a little bit interesting, and I still think that the Titans need to make some improvements, and that's with the offensive line. You have your starters in Dan Moore, J.C. Latham, Peter Skronsky, Jackson Slater, and Austin Schlottman. They are going to be your starting 5. Your backups, though. Cordell Volson could be your backup left guard. Then you have Austin Delicus as one of your kind of tackles. I think Brennan Crenshaw-Dixon has kind of proven himself to be maybe that swing tackle. Pat Coogan and Fernando Carmona are your 2 guys that you drafted in this year's draft. But 10 offensive linemen on this roster. You have a backup everywhere, but you still don't have that backup center. But I think they trust Schlottman. But overall, for right now, they haven't signed anybody, but that's my projection. I still think the Titans need to go out and sign someone else. I think they need to bring somebody on this team with a little bit of veteran presence, specifically at the guard position, because Jackson Slater did not play that much last year. And do you really want to go into this season where it is very, very important you get the development of Cam Ward and you don't have him get sacked over 50 times in a season? I think they should bring in someone. But for now, they trust what they have, and that is going to be my prediction for the 53. Now we go to the interior defensive linemen, and this is really no surprise here. You have Jeffery Simmons. You have John Franklin Myers. You have Solomon Thomas, who you traded for with the Dallas Cowboys. You brought in Jordan Elliott from over, I think it was the San Francisco 49ers, one of Robert Saleh's guys, and then you drafted Jackie Marshall out of Baylor in the 6th round. Those are your 5 guys. There is no surprises there. You have your 3 starters and then your 2 backups. Still think they need a little bit more depth on the interior for the backups, but Jordan Elliott and Jackie Marshall are still very, very solid guys. Now it gets a little bit interesting in the edge room. And it's a little bit iffy. You have your good starters in Jermaine Johnson. You have Keldrick Falk. Femi Oladejo, who has not performed well because he really hasn't been on the field for minicamp or for OTAs. Jacob Martin, you brought over from the Washington Commanders, who had a lot of sacks last year. I think it was 5 for Washington last year. But then you have Jalen Harrell. But that last spot, I'm giving it to Jalen Harrell right now because he is kind of that experienced guy on the team. He was here last year, but you could also have that possibility of you wanting to move over going into the next one. But there's another guy on the bubble here. And you claimed him off the waivers, off the Patriots practice squad last year. And that's Truman Jones. And I think Truman Jones has a lot of talent on this team. But there's questions as, is it going to be Jalen Harrell? Is it going to be Truman Jones? That is one position battle that you're going to want to look at once we get to training camp next month. Because there's going to be one spot left on this edge room for the Tennessee Titans. And it's going to come down to those 2 guys. So Truman Jones or also Jalen Harrell. The linebacker room, you need to add some depth. Cedric Gray, Cody Barton, Anthony Hill, your draft pick, your 2nd round guy out of Texas, and then Mohamed Diabate, who is your guy who signed in free agency over the last couple of months. But the questions are, is Cody Barton going to be that guy, or is Anthony Hill Jr. going to be that guy? And there's also possibilities that Cody Barton could be traded. And what do I mean by that? Well, all the talks are, Cedric Gray is going to be your starter because he showed off in the last season with over 150 tackles. Cody Barton was iffy up and down the entire season in 2025. But now you bring in Anthony Hill Jr., who can also kind of get to the quarterback, play that run defense, but also be better in pass coverage. There's a possibility that Cody Barton could be on his move. But ESPN, they came out with an article on guys that could be traded, and one of the guys they said was linebacker Cody Barton. Ben Zolak of ESPN said this. He said, second-round linebacker Anthony Hill Jr. has that sort of speed, but critically, he was a multi-year signal caller at the heart of the Texas defense. He seems better suited to slide into Barton's shoes at middle linebacker than Cedric Gray's spot at the weak side linebacker. But I would wager both jobs are up for grabs in different combinations as Saleh explores the best version of his roster in 2026. If Barton is indeed shelved for Hill, well, then definitely expect some trade calls. And we'll see what happens in training camp. This was a kind of a roster battle that you were looking at through OTAs, throughout minicamp. Both guys were actually looking very, very well going in. So it's kind of interesting on who is going to be that starting linebacker. We know that Cedric Gray is right there, but if you want pass coverage, who is going to look better? Your guy from the second round of Anthony Hill Jr. or Cody Barton? Or could the Titans go in a sense of, hey, we're going to develop Anthony Hill Jr., maybe we play Cody Barton for a little bit, and then once we get closer to the trade deadline, kind of ease their way through with Anthony Hill, and then take some calls on Cody Barton as we get to the trade deadline. Now, speaking about guys, and we know the offense is probably going to be the main focus of the Tennessee Titans. We got our prize picks question of the day. And a lot of people were talking about Cam Ward and how he was going to be once we got to OTAs, minicamp, because he struggled in OTAs, but bounced back at minicamp. And I think he's going to take the next step. But Prize Picks has the projection at 18.5 touchdowns. I want to ask you guys, what do you think? Is it going to be more or is it going to be less? And here's the full projections for Cam Ward. We saw him get a rushing touchdown in that final game of the season. So pick more or less. What do you guys think? I think the touchdowns are definitely going to go more. Same with the passing yards. You let me know down below. And guys, we use Prize Picks here at Chat Sports every single day because it's the best place to win cash while watching sports. And if you don't want to wait for these season-long projections, you can make lineups for baseball. You got the big soccer tournament going on, big golf tournaments, baseball, everything you could possibly imagine. And you could also follow me on the app to see all my lineups at The Real Alper. Get the picks before they even get posted on the show. And you know, the app is super easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. And we got a new user offer for you. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. The link will be in the comments and description of today's video. That is code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So we go to our cornerback room. Alontae Taylor, Cordell Flott, and Marcus Harris are going to be your three starters on this team. But then you have some interesting. Who is going to be the backups? You brought in Joshua Williams. Keedrain Callaghan is some player who has really kind of showed up. There have been two guys that showed up in OTAs and in minicamp. It's Keedrain and it's also Micah Robinson. For what they have done throughout minicamp, I have them as my two guys to make this roster as your backups on the cornerback room. This could change, but I really like what I've seen from Callaghan and Robinson throughout the last couple of weeks. We'll see if that changes throughout once we get to training camp. Safety room. Really no surprises here. You have Amani Hooker. You have Kevin Winston Jr. Those are your two starters. You brought in Tony Adams from New York, who also has ties to Robert Saleh and his defense from when he was the head coach of the New York Jets. And then Kendall Brooks has just been here for a little bit of time, so he gets that extra boost of having experience here in Tennessee. Those are your four guys. Some people have a little bit 5 safeties making the roster. I only have 4. And then to round everything out, you brought in Tommy Townsend, the punter from Houston. I think he is going to be solid. A little bit of an upgrade from Johnny Hecker, who I think was just ancient at this point. And Joey Sly, I still don't understand why he got rid of Nick Falk, but maybe you want to go look at a different kicker once we get to the future. Joey Sly, solid, but I definitely think you could upgrade. And then Morgan Cox is your long snapper going in. That's my 53-man prediction. If you have anything, if you have any disagreements, let me know down in the comments. But with the whole entire 53-man roster, I think the Titans could improve drastically going into this season compared to last year. So before we get on out of here, I want to ask you guys, predict the Titans record for me down in the comments section. I think they're going to get around 6 to 7 wins, around there. No playoffs. I think this is going to be a 2-year process of building. And then once we see 2027, that's when you start talking playoffs. But let me know down in the comment section, predict the Titans record for me. And also go ahead and hit that sub button. We're breaking down everything Titans, you name it. We are covering it here on the channel. So don't miss out on a single thing. Hit that sub button right now. And as always, tighten up.